What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Big Fry, and look, every now and again, and I mean, it's happening more and more often as time goes on, I read comments, tweets, or whatever else, where a new game is coming out that is a clone of this game, or a Tarkov ripoff, or a COD clone, or a Valorant clone, and whatever else. It's usually, you know, low IQ internet brains just talking shit in comments, but every now and again, you get a real complaint about cloning, stealing, and plagiarizing, and that's what's going on today. So I saw a tweet the other day that I didn't quite understand the context of, and then when I opened Reddit and I went and I was just browsing, and on the game dev subreddit, there is a huge summary of what's been going on in this situation. We have a developer by the name of Hactic who has announced his own little indie title, and it's described as a cozy idle game about growing houseplants and decorating your living space. Now, at first glance, I'm gonna venture to say that not a lot of you guys actually care about games like this because I'm an FPS channel. But I will say, just like as a small little indie game, it does look pretty cool. Now, another developer by the name of Kenny, or @KennyNL, has come out and quote tweeted the tweet from Hactic, where they say, "It is absolutely disheartening to see my game get copied to such a degree, down to the little sounds. I give a lot to the community, but please don't just copy my game. This just sucks to see. It rips the fun out of being creative." Now, Kenny NL creates a shit ton of game assets for you to use. You can go to the website, you can download them all for free, or you can choose to get an all-in-one package where you can basically tip them 20 bucks and you get a bunch of, you know, 2D pixel art, vector art, icons, UI elements. There's a bunch of stuff here. It's actually a well-packaged set of assets. However, the claim of copying here goes a lot deeper than that. So basically, right after this tweet went out, and keep in mind, Kenny NL has, you know, 100,000 Twitter followers, and we're gonna get into this kind of discussion in a little bit. Before we go any further into this video, I am hosting another monitor giveaway with BenQ Mobius. I'm not being paid for this, but we are working on giving out a 27-inch 4K 144Hz monitor to one of my fans in North America. Click the link down below, join the giveaway, and check out their entire monitor lineup if you're in the market for a new monitor. BenQ Mobius and I have been collaborating for a few years now, and I'm always excited to get you guys some new gear, so check out the links down below. But soon after, an angry Twitter mob started harassing Hactic, and it got so bad that his tweet was even community noted for the game basically being a copy, with the only proof of it being a copy a link to the Make Room Steam page. Now, just before we go any further, looking at the two screenshots here, you can definitely see that Hactic's game Flora Corner you could see that it's inspired by Make Room. Does that make it a copy? In the literal sense of them actually like copying the game to a T? Absolutely fucking not. Just in these screenshots here, I can see how both games differ in their style. They're similar, but it's not a copy. It's like saying Call of Duty copies Battlefield and vice versa. But anyway, the harassment got so bad that the tweet of Hactic announcing this game got community noted, where the community says this game is a copy of Kenny NL's game named Make Room. Now, what's weird is on the other side of the mob, there was a lot of people asking questions like, okay, like what do you constitute like copying? Is this straight up like, is it plagiarism? Did they actually rip source code? Are they using assets that you've created to create their own style game in the same vein as yours? Like what constitutes a copy? And somebody asked, like, I thought you posted stuff as CCO so it gets used. So basically asking, like, you create a bunch of free assets, what do you, like, I thought that was the point, is to make games like that. So Kenny responded and says, I do post game assets on a weekly basis that are completely free to use. I do so to inspire and help developers. This uses none of those assets and instead copies the concept, look, and feel of the project I particularly decided not to give away. So Kenny has an issue with the fact that their game Make Room, which is a cozy idler room builder, the concept of it was taken in quotations and created by someone else. And some of his responses to this controversy are even worse. So Kenny puts out a tweet saying, "Shame. From what I understood from others, that person was actually really reasonable in the past." Here he goes into his plant-caring gameplay element, which, by the way, in Hactic's game, Flora Corner, it's more about like room building, but then also taking care of plants and putting a bunch of different plants in there and basically having a green thumb. But Kenny says, here he goes into his plant-caring gameplay element, something that he might have just taken from Urban Jungle, a different and awesome game. So now the accusations are starting to come out that Hactic is stealing gameplay elements from other games as well. A user responds in the screenshot here and says, "I'm sorry, but using arguments like something he might have just taken from Urban Jungle is quite petty. He really copied your game, but criticizing random mechanics as if everything were plagiarism just to undermine someone is unfair." To which Kenny then responds, "Yeah, it's totally weird to assume that if someone copied one thing, they might have also copied something else. My bad," with the most snarky response ever. Here, newsflash, guys. Concepts aren't something that you own. You create something, you put it out there and announce that it's being developed. Someone else can come in and create the same concept. Ask Unrecord with body cam. This happens all the time. If you don't want somebody to take your idea, don't announce the game until it's done. And even then, if you put your game out and someone then creates a game heavily inspired by, tough fucking luck. Now, amidst all of this chaos and Hactic getting, just completely bombarded with hate because they decided to make a game they wanted to make, Hactic actually responds and says, "I was wondering when this was going to make its way here. It looks like this was recorded in Discord. Yes, that's me. I'm a bit surprised by this reaction since Kenny is certainly not the first person to make an isometric room decorating game. There are similar looking examples on Steam that predate his game, but that's just the nature of these types of games. There's only so much you can do with it. That's why I'm trying to set myself apart from that by introducing plant caring mechanics, but that seems to have been lost in the Twitter discourse. But I can see the similarity has stepped over the line for some people, so I'm going to be making some changes to distance my game from his. If I can give you one piece of advice, is don't give in to the Twitter mob. Don't change a fucking thing about what you're creating just to appease people who don't actually give a shit about anything you're doing anyway." One of the accusations that Kenny throws out on Twitter is that he even copied the game down to the little sound, to which Hactic actually responded to this in Discord, basically saying, "My game makes use of free and paid sound effect packs from Itch. I haven't really played Kenny's game, so I don't know what sounds he uses, but watching his trailer, it's not inconceivable that we've used sounds from the same packs, and that's fine. The whole point of these sound asset packs is so they get used in different games. It has nothing to do with copying." And that kind of goes into what I've been saying for a long time when it comes to these assets, is that it's not about the use of assets, it's about how you use them. And if it's true that both of these games are using some of the same assets in terms of their sound and their UI effects, tough fucking luck. If you guys are using the same asset packs, yeah, things are gonna sound pretty similar, I guess. But unfortunately, Hactic has now been pushed into a corner and he's feeling like he has to say something. He put out a public fucking apology to Kenny NL. Upon seeing everybody's reaction to the game, I can definitely understand that I've stepped over the line with taking inspiration. Here's the thing, dude. I don't believe in appeasing to the mob. I just don't. It's definitely not my intention to make a ripoff of his game, and I understand that as it stands to similarity in UI and overall direction makes it appear so. For that reason, I'm going to be making changes to the art direction in the most offending areas. Again, last time I'm going to say it, do not change anything to appease to a Twitter mob. Now, this Reddit post kind of sums it all up there and then ends with this statement, which I fully agree with. It's not okay for devs to act entitled to an idea, a mechanic, or a specific art style, then try to take down competition in the court of public opinion against smaller devs who can't defend themselves. It's probably been said countless times, but no one owns a game mechanic, an idea, a visual style, or a genre. If someone is doing the same to you or will do the same to you, coercing you into changing something in your game or even a big chunk of it, please don't be scared or worried. And then he says, reach out for help. No, fuck that. Own your shit. But where it gets even worse is an article by Games Radar was even published after the initial tweets. They took accusations at face value and ran with them to write a story. However, the article tries to equate this case with the game being cloned and uploaded on Steam. So now we have a bone to pick with Games Radar. So big shout out to Ali Jones, the author for this Games Radar article. It must have been a slow news day, so you decided to just take some accusations and run with it. And then at the end of the article, you say this: copies like this appear to be a growing issue on Steam. Last month, PC Gamer reported on a similar case in which a dev found his game cloned and uploaded to Steam by an acquaintance who then claimed that this kind of thing happens every day. So Ali Jones is now making the insinuation to the audience that this guy literally stole the fucking game and uploaded it to Steam, like what happened with this other title, Dire Decks. Now, this is probably the worst case of like journalistic lack of integrity that I've seen in some time, at least in the gaming space. Games Radar should actually be ashamed of that article. Now, after this subreddit post came out, Kenny then saw it and decided to put a tweet out. "I've spent my life giving away nearly everything I create for others to freely use. Seeing someone take that last bit of what I decided to keep for myself is devastating." Keep in mind, Kenny is talking about game mechanics and a concept. "I chose to tell you all how sad it made me, and somehow it ended up in me being accused of bullying." Now, here's one aspect of things that I don't think I agree with the subreddit on, is this idea that if you have a following, you're not allowed to say anything. So Kenny obviously felt wronged. And while I disagree with Kenny feeling wronged and feeling entitled and obligated to keep these concepts and ideas to themselves, I don't believe that because they have 100,000 followers on Twitter, they're not allowed to express it. Everyone always says like you're sicking your mob after. Every time I make a video talking about, you know, a really shitty early access game, what happens is a few people will go over to the Steam's community hub, or they'll jump in their Discord and they'll talk shit. And like what happens is that community will then say that I'm sending my people over there to do it, when in reality, I really just don't give a shit outside of making content, reading your comments, and that's where it ends for me. But I get accused all the time of sending my community to shit on game, and it's just, it couldn't be further from the truth. The internet is full of incredibly toxic people who just so happen to be so low IQ that they get so wrapped up in this internet drama that they feel like they need to go and like white knight or attack, and I mean like directly attack developers. They'll go to their Discord, they'll DM them, they'll put messages on the community hub. That has nothing to do with me. There's always the claim that because I have a large following, I have a responsibility to act responsible and keep these people in check. It's the fucking internet. Whatever you're going to do or say has no bearing on some fucking loser in his basement going to a Steam community hub and talking shit. And because I have a large following, I shouldn't have to censor and keep my opinions to myself in the hopes that it'll keep the fucking losers at bay. That's just not how it works. So that being said, Kenny, I disagree with their you know, complaints and their criticism and their accusations, but I don't think they shouldn't say it because they have a large following. If they feel that way, great. The fact that you're feeling that way is kind of fucking ridiculous. But this goes into a conversation that I've been seeing pop up more and more often. Games like Arena Breakout Infinite being accused of copying the source code from Escape from Tarkov, even though there's been no like actual relevant proof that that's happened. Usually when it comes to actually stealing, you know, things like code and assets and stuff like that, that usually gets handled in court. It is an IP problem. It is a trademark and copyright problem. But when developers like Nikita a couple months ago went out and, you know, tried to appease to the court of public opinion and claim all of these things about how they're stealing this and they're stealing that, yet give no proof, and you can see Arena Breakout Infinite is clearly heavily inspired by Tarkov. Does that make it illegal? Does that make it immoral? Absolutely fucking not. Another conversation popped up just a few weeks ago when body cam came out. A lot of people are getting confused that body cam is actually the viral hit sensation on Record, because they're both body cam style games that use, you know, the same kind of player controller, the same visual style. They're using a lot of the same assets for their environments and the effects that get placed on the cameras. And it's true, yeah, if you put both of those games side by side, no trademarks, no watermarks, no nothing, you'd be hard pressed to choose one or the other and say, like, this is definitively on Record or this is definitively body cam. Obviously, body cam is a PvP experience. On Record is going for a single player route, but it didn't change the fact that a lot of people were confused and thought one game was the other. Does that make it illegal? That body cam decided to take the viral trailer from Unrecord and be like, fuck, we could do that, and did it quicker? No. No. You don't own a concept. You don't own a visual style. And when in the case of both body cam and in the case of like Make Room and Flora Corner, in this case, when you're using assets, nothing you have is original, which means nothing you can say about copying or plagiarism or whatever comes into play. We had conversations with our team, like what would happen if somebody came out and fucking just made a Transients clone? Well, all the power to them. We've taken, you know, an ample amount of time to work and develop and hone in and try to create the game. If somebody were to swoop in right now and create a game that's exactly like it and put it out before us, that's on us. Welcome to like a capitalistic free market society where people are allowed to create things that they want to create and then sell them to people. If you don't want to be a part of it, you can choose not to. You can choose to sit at home and play, I don't know, like Rooms. It's a game that just dropped on the web and iOS, and it just won an Apple Design Award. Not sponsored or anything like that. It's just a game I somehow happened to come across in making this video. It does look strikingly familiar, which means somebody probably stole the concept. I wanted to make this video as a point. If you're an indie developer and somebody is saying you're creating a clone, you should change this and that so it's not like this game and that game, block out all the fucking noise, create what you want to create, because at the end of the day, none of this shit is going to matter in 100 years. Spend the time creating things that you want to make and fuck everybody else. My name is Big Fry. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.